10 brutal truths musicians need to hear, but no one tells you. Let's be real. The dream is beautiful, but the road is brutal. You think it's all spotlights and solos, but behind the curtain is a grind that chews people up and spits them out. This isn't meant to kill your fire or your vibe. It's meant to aim it. Because if you're going to survive in the music business, you'd better know what you're walking into. So here they are, 10 brutal truths every musician needs to hear. The ones no one puts on a tour poster. Number 1, and this might be the most important lesson I could give. Talent isn't enough. You can have the chops, the voice, the stage presence of a legend and still go nowhere. The cemetery is full of undiscovered geniuses. Nobody's buying what they don't know exists. Now look, I had somebody in the comments the other day. He left an amazing comment, and that is why I love to hear from everybody in the comments on these videos. Sharing your story with me helps frame and gives me ideas for the channel. And this post, and I'm just gonna give you a few points from it, but this guy talks about when he was 16 years old, he took a couple of months of guitar lessons from a local guy who was a fantastic guitarist. Said he was a decent teacher, but not great for a beginner. And he said, this guy is on YouTube and does some amazing tunes. He was teaching professionally at a local music school at 19 years old. Okay, so right away, you know this guy was good if he's teaching at 19 years old. Okay, so this guy, fishing is his favorite pastime, right? And he makes his living as a fishing guide. And one day, long before he became pro, he was out fishing at a local waterfront pier when this guitar player came walking by. And he said he was very happy to see his old guitar teacher, but the guy was a bit dejected and self-reflecting. He told him that he believed that if he had just did a bunch of gigs and played great, word of mouth would spread and eventually he'd make it. He realized after 20 plus years of trying that that wasn't the case. And he finally saw the importance of self-promotion. Okay, this comment hits hard. And it's exactly about what I'm talking about. You can outplay Hendrix. You can outplay Tim Henson. You can outplay Matteo Mancuso, right? But if no one hears it, does it matter? The reality is this. You are now, especially in the modern world that we live in, with internet and, Instagram and, YouTube and all of this stuff, man, you are your own promotional department. Now, back in the day, before we had all of that stuff, before we had the ability to record something and post it and have the world hear it, before that time period, you still had to be your own best self-promotion. So how would you do that? Here's the thing, man, and it's the same today, it's just different methods. Back then, you would need to make contacts, right? You would need to reach out to people. Ask your friends. If your friend owns a studio, call them up and go, hey, my playing is at a certain level here now, and is there somebody I could contact? Maybe there's a band looking for a great player. You would need to do this over and over again until something happens, right? Until something positive happens for you. And you would have to constantly be self-promoting yourself. Back in the day, that meant having business cards, with your name on it, and maybe a brand. If you don't have the greatest name in the world, if your name is Ned, Niedermeyer, Senstein, or something that's hard to pronounce or whatever, doesn't roll off the tongue, maybe you would need to develop, something that is a little more friendly, right? Looks better on a business card. Look, I think DJs and TV personalities and people like that do that all the time, right? I see radio names and I go, there's no way that's this guy's real name, right? But developing something that rolls off the tongue, your promotion, having good photos, all of these things, it's the same thing today, right? But you need to be promoting yourself. And look, we all know guys that post incredible playing every day, but somehow it's not getting to the masses. Somehow it's not appealing to people. So you're going to have to hone your approach, right? The way that you can to make it so people notice you, so that people know you exist. It's a very tough road, but you're going to have to travel down it. Number 2, you're not owed an audience. Social media is fooling people into thinking exposure is guaranteed. It's not. And I'll tell you this, I'm a prime example of this. Because I don't know if it's 17 years ago, I started this YouTube channel, and I would post clips of playing a little bit. I'd do a little bit of things. I didn't have the technical ability to shoot the kind of videos that I do now. Not that this is not that this is, the greatest production values in the world. I'm using a phone. I've got one single light bulb illuminating me in a room, and I'm talking. But you know what? Before I used to think I needed to play, and I needed to, show my chops and teach, things that I did and all that. But man, when I figured out, I found my audience. My audience is people that are a lot like me. A lot of the guys that watch this channel can already play, already know how to play, already been playing gigs, have already had those experiences. And maybe just sharing my knowledge of, hey, I zigged here where I should have zagged, and all of those things. People want to hear those stories, just like people want to share their stories in the comments. And finding your audience. Look, the internet is flooded with talent, but most of it is ignored. Here's the deal. Attention is earned, not entitled. Just because you post doesn't mean they'll come, right? So you're going to have to work at your angles. You're going to have to try different things. Hell, you might have to do pizza. You might have to try pizza. And look at the guy that's Barstool Sports that, was tasting pizzas and stuff like that. I mean, look, you've got to find your niche, right? You've got to find what works for you. And that is what's going to find you your audience. You're not guaranteed eyes just because you post. And here's number 3. This is an important one. Ace decided to join me for this one. Most gigs don't pay enough. You'll get paid in pizza, exposure, and maybe a drink ticket if you're lucky. Now, we've all seen the posts of restaurants on social media, on Facebook. It happens all the time where some restaurant will say, hey, we're looking for a couple of musicians to play our restaurant and we can't pay you, but you'll get great exposure. Look, when you're just starting out, you're going to have to do that. You can't think that you're too good to do an exposure gig if you've never been exposed, right? So you are going to have to take those crappy gigs at first. At first, you may have to build something in a business, right? Build an audience and then say, look, we've done it now. We've built you a crowd. This is what we have to get paid in order to continue, right? Some shows that you do as a musician cost you more than they pay you. And that is the reality, man. I've always said on this channel, spending thousands to make hundreds, having to have all this gear, right? In order to be ready for whatever call would come in, whatever situation would come in, you end up accumulating a lot of gear. And that gear costs money. So the reality is this, man, you're going to have, it's going to cost you more to gig than they pay you for a long time. That is the reality, man. And look, you got a free drink and a parking ticket. Congrats. That's what it's like when you start out. And I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments that are going to let me know their stories of not getting paid enough. Musician math, 4 hours of work for gas money. That really used to be a thing, man. It's a tough grind, man. And the reality is, people in Nashville now playing down on Broadway, they've got their busy season where they're making good money and they're playing to a lot of people and all that. But man, you get in the dead of winter and all of a sudden there's not as many tourists down there and you're playing the third floor of some honky tonk that's, got 5 people in it. Man, you're going to still face those very rough, low-paying gigs. Number 4, image and branding matter more than you think. Music is only part of the story. You're selling a vibe, a lifestyle, a look. If you look forgettable, you'll be forgotten. Cool sells before chords do. Aesthetics open doors. Tone comes second. Now I know that's a thing, man. And look, it's obvious back in the glam rock days, on the Sunset Strip, that image was a huge thing. Image got a lot of those bands record deals. The more outrageous a band looked, the more attention they got when people opened the magazine. That doesn't mean it appealed to everybody, but they got noticed, right? And if they followed it up by having the skills, right, of being legitimately talented, well, then that is a winning combination. Look, here's the deal, man. You are a brand. You may be a single musician, right, that's out playing gigs. Maybe you're doing singles or duos, right? And the reality is you're selling a vibe. You're selling a lifestyle. You're selling a look. That is the reality of it, man. When you're in a bar, right? What lifestyle are you selling? You're selling the lifestyle of someone that goes to bars. And I learned that pretty early on, that if I could sell lots of beer, if I could sell shots and act like I was part of the party, that was more important than me, ripping Holdsworth licks. The reality is this: if you're not focusing on your brand and creating a strong image, all the chops in the world aren't going to get you anywhere. Now, number 5 hits extremely hard. Most music careers end in debt. Touring, gear, promo, merch, videos, it all adds up and fast. And that's not even including the cost it takes to record. And even with today's modern recording it at home, if you're not a great mixer, if you're not able to master your own music, if you need to hire a drummer for the recording, if you need to hire a bassist or a guitar player or strings or any number of things, that costs money, right? Chasing the dream comes with an invoice. That boutique pedal that you bought, it won't book your next gig. If you spend $2,000 on tone and got $30 in return, then that is a huge loss, right? That is the reality of this. Why do you think that I'm on here every day working my butt off? Because, man, after all those years in Nashville and with platinum and gold records on my wall, I still have to get up each day and work my butt off. That is the reality of a career in music, right? It never ends, right? You're always going to work. And whether it's playing gigs or creating stuff on social media or whatever, man, you're going to realize that there is no retirement plan in music. Number 6, industry is not built on merit. It's not always about who's best. It's about who's connected. And here's a really harsh one that it's going to be tough for people to deal with, but nepotism is greater than neck pickup tone, right? If somebody's got connections and born into it, look, it certainly helps. If your dad was a Beatle, it certainly helps. If your parents are wealthy or have connections, that is the reality. You're not going to just all of a sudden become, rich because you're great. That is the reality of this, man. The industry isn't built on merit. If it was built on merit, Alan Holdsworth would have died a billionaire, right? One of the greatest players alive. And I hear rumors he had to work at Kmart. That is the harsh reality of all of this. It's not who's best. It's who's best connected. The game is rigged. Learn to play it anyway. This is a game, man. And you have got to figure out a way around all of the hurdles that are going to be placed in front of you. Number 7, and this is a lesson. This is a very important lesson. Trends will leave you behind. If you're not evolving, you're already extinct. Your 2007 sound won't survive 2025. You either adapt or fade into MySpace. Anybody remember MySpace? Look, the reality is you've got to always evolve. Your music has to evolve. Your presentation has to evolve. And look, the sources that you feed people has to evolve. MySpace was a great platform. But man, all of a sudden it got turned into a ghost town. And I call it digital herding. It's like they herded everybody over to Facebook. Somebody buys MySpace and runs it into the ground. And then everybody has to go over to Facebook, which Facebook isn't as cool as MySpace was. MySpace, you could have your own, look to your own page and post your music links and all of this stuff. It's gone. Presto. Psh, gone. So evolution isn't optional. It's survival. Trends will come and go. Music styles will come and go. And that's why another thing that I talk about on this channel is versatility. Understand music. Don't be afraid to try different styles of music. If you want to play for a long time, you're going to end up playing and seeing trends come and go. Number 8. You'll have to do it all yourself at first. There's no team. I don't have a team here. I don't have anybody helping me. I don't have an editor. I don't have, somebody helping me come up with these ideas for videos. I can't sit around at the boardroom and spitball ideas for videos. There's no team, no magic manager. You are the entire staff. You're the roadie, the producer, the boss, and the unpaid intern. Do it yourself is the entry fee. If you put in the work, if you do the stuff, man, if you figure out how to navigate all this stuff, you're going to have to get used to wearing all the hats before you're going to have extra hats to help out. No one's going to just come and do everything for you. They've got way too much on their plate their own. No manager is going to come and just magically make you a star, right? If you haven't put in the work yourself. Used to be people would get swept off the street and all of a sudden get placed in movies and all this kind of stuff, man. That's less likely these days to happen. In fact, when I say less likely, it means it's probably not going to happen. If you're waiting for help, you're already behind. Number 9, most people don't care how hard you work. Effort's invisible. Only results show. Now look, everybody that watches this channel knows that I work my butt off. But the bottom line is, man, I got to come up with results. Nobody claps for effort. Only results. No one saw the 50 takes you took to make the perfect solo. They only saw the one that flopped. That is the reality of this. People don't care how hard you work. Everybody's working hard. That's the reality of the world that we're in today. So man, don't expect a pat on the back or a trophy or anything like that, man. Just work your butt off. That is the reality. Your hustle is invisible. Make your art undeniable. And number 10, the most important one. Success doesn't mean happiness. You can have it all and still feel empty. You can have it all and still be filled with loneliness. You could be laying in bed with a playmate or an Instagram model or an OnlyFans model and still feel completely empty, right? Followers don't hug you when you're lonely. Streams don't silence the voices in your head. If you're not happy broke, you won't be happy famous either, right? Learn to find the joy in life, right? Learn to find the joy in doing your work and doing your art. That is important. Find happiness before you try to find success, right? Because success is only going to bring more problems, right? That is the reality. This lifestyle of creating, it's not for everybody, right? It's not something a lot of people want to deal with, right? A lot of people are more comfortable getting a set paycheck each week than having the unpredictable ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. It can be absolutely brutal. So I get it every day in the comments when somebody tells me that, man, you're right, man. This is tough, man. I was much more comfortable working my job and now I'm retired and now I get to do music as a side thing that I love. Man, I get that completely, man. But here's the deal. Again, success doesn't mean happiness. The reality is you've got to find the happiness from inside and find it first before success, because success is just going to amplify any loneliness or any sadness you have inside. Look, these truths aren't here to crush you. They're here to armor you. Because if you've got the fire to stare this list down and still say, I'm in, you're already stronger than most. This is a calling, not a shortcut. You're not just chasing a dream, you're surviving a battlefield. So suit up, show up, and let the world feel you.